Hi, this is Erin Zimmerman, owner of Elephant Social, and welcome to ChatConnect, a web series where this season I will be speaking with some badass lady entrepreneurs who are here to basically rule the world. Today, I'll be speaking with Adrienne Dorison, success strategist and money mentor to go-getter entrepreneurs who are ready to make a mark and make more money. And without further ado, here I am, Erin Zimmerman, with Adrienne Dorison. Hi, Adrienne. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Actually, we just got off of a group program call together, so I get all kinds of Adrienne today. I love that.
I love it. And I love being interviewed, but it always reminds me of how nerve-wracking it is to not know what someone's going to ask you, right?
But see,
what are we going to talk?
Right. The thing with you, though, is we've been working inside a couple of your groups and kind of crowdsourcing some questions, and people have some good ones. So I think we're going to dig into some of those today. First of all, though, I want you, in your own words, to tell us a bit about yourself and kind of like how you got to where you are.
How much time do you have? It's in my head right now. I'm kidding. I won't tell you, since birth, I was, no. You have tea, so you can wait. I went to school. I'm from Florida, went to school at University of Florida, Go Gators, and I actually studied wildlife conservation and ecology there. So I pretty much thought I was going to pet animals and save them. I thought that was what I was going to do. And so I started working, decided to go back to, I was teaching, and then I went back to grad school, went to University of Georgia, got my master's degree in forestry and natural resource economics with a minor in business, just super random. And then I started working for a corporation after that. So I kind of bounced around all of the southern states. I've lived in Florida and Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, and then back to Florida. So bounced around for a few years with that corporate job because they kept relocating me to different locations because they move people up that corporate ladder. And met my fiance while I was at that corporate role. He wasn't my fiance at the time, obviously. We met, and I swore I would never date someone that I worked with. That was not what I was at work for. I was a go-getter at work, and I was strictly business. I was climbing to the top of that ladder. And I knew I had every potential to do that. Yeah, I knew that I was slotted for VP roles if I wanted them. But that was what I wanted at one point. And then, it kind of became very clear to me that that was not really my goal anymore. And I think that for a lot of people, that's hard for them to make that transition or understand that your goals can change, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But my goal, I really had a goal of being a VP or a CEO. I thought, didn't see myself anymore in that role. So I started my business on the side of that corporate job in January of 2015. So when we're recording this, just about 19 months ago. So last year, started in January. And I also had a ton of student loan debt. So I had about $48,000 of student loan debt, which is a really big part of my story because I wanted to pay that off before I left the corporate job. And so I got really aggressive and did that within 6 months. And so I paid off all $48,000 of that in 6 months. I left the corporate job. I've been running my business. We moved to St. Pete. We live in St. Pete, Florida now. We lived in Alabama because that's where our corporate job moved us. And we wanted to be near family and with friends and be in an active community. And so we moved to St. Pete, Florida. That's where we live now. I have a dog. Well, actually we have 2 dogs. Everyone knows that one of my dogs is my favorite, and I get a lot of flack for making that very known. But we have 2 dogs, and we're getting married.
That's so exciting. And I know recently your honeymoon was canceled. So how is that? I know initially you were kind of processing it, but how's it going now have you fully processed it? Like, how's that going?
So here's what happened. So the honeymoon, that was the only thing that we had like planned for the wedding. It was like the honeymoon was planned. And I was like, yay, we don't have to worry about it. And then they called us and they were like, oh, the resort is, they're going to be working on it during that week. So you canceling your trip. Like, it's our honeymoon. You can't cancel our trip. And so we were, it was the only like all inclusive on the island. So we were not going to rebook it. And then I had a call. You are going on a honeymoon, because if you don't, I know that you won't. And so like, for me, I processed it. Like, I was just like, oh, it's not that big of a deal and we'll figure it out. Like, the marriage is the important part. And I was less distraught than my fiance. He was a little more upset about the all-inclusive food that I'd be missing out on. So I'm the control freak. I like do all the planning and like I have to have my hands on everything. So my life coach was like, you need to give that to Tyler. He needs to rebook it. He just needs to find a new place. And so I was like, no, he can't do that, right? Because that's my tendency. And she's like, well, he can't do that because you won't let him do that. He rebooked at a place still in the Bahamas, and so we're going to be gone. We're going away.
At the same time, or is it a different time?
Same time. She told me, like, just tell him to like find another place close by, just use the same plane tickets. And so he figured it out, and that was really good. It was really good for not just like, so for me to like let go of a lot of that control and like trust him to like go do things that normally I would just do because it's easy, quote unquote, easier for me to do. Right. Like typical of business owners too. We're like, oh, for me to do it. So I'll just do it myself.
Right.
I'll do that.
I totally get that. When we went on our honeymoon, it was more, we were taking 2 weeks off and we went to England and a couple other places. Iceland was in there, and I made the initial plans. And then during the trip, a few things like semi fell through. And so then it was like racing the clock to get from one place to the other. It was kind of like our own Amazing Race, only when you're in it, it's not as exciting. So we still haven't taken like
and there's no like $1 million prize at the end.
Right. It's like, we just have to get to where we're going. So there were a couple of those moments, but I mean, it was exciting. But yeah, I can't wait to hear about your all-inclusive, because I have yet to do one of those, and it sounds so nice.
Yeah, me either. I kind of just wanted to, like, that was the whole goal, was like, I have to like worry about anything, which is why I was like, we wanted to do the all-inclusive. I've never been to one. And we also were staying in Nassau, which from here, it was only like an hour and a half flight. And so I was like, I just want to do a ton of travel. Like, I just want to be there and like be on the beach and have a drink and have amazing food,
Right.
and be with Tyler, right?
Yes.
I forgot he's going to be there.
He'll be there.
So we're excited. Oh, and we're the place that we rebooked. We were staying at Sandals. Now we're staying at Atlantis, and Atlantis like looks a little bit more wild. They have like slides and stuff. So I was like, all right. I mean, I don't really want to like hang out with a bunch of kids on my honeymoon, but I will definitely go down that slide.
Right. Well, and that was actually in the Amazing Race. So there you go. You're actually going to be doing something for the Amazing Race. Go down that slide. Or a GoPro.
Yeah,
something.
I'm totally going. Yeah, I'm going down that slide.
So real quick, I'm going to ask one more question before I get into other people's questions. And it does have to do with marriage. And you said it is about the marriage, not just the wedding. And I love that, because as much as that should be the main idea, I feel like so many people don't look past the wedding because it is such a big to-do. And the question that I keep getting asked, I've been married for 2.5 years now, but I keep getting asked, and I'm going to ask you right now, and so think of future you, is how is married life?
That's such a good question. Like, now that I'm not married yet, but future me. So it's really interesting, because I never wanted to live with my partner until we were married, because I wanted there to be like this really big difference Obviously that didn't happen. Like I live with my fiance already. Like we live together. We lived together before we were engaged actually. And he's the first person I've ever lived with. I'm going to marry him. So that's great. But I actually like consciously didn't want it with the person. I want my marriage different. And I'm like, now if I'm like thinking of future self, how is marriage? Like marriage is really fun because you get to like talk about like, oh, this is my husband. So there's something very kind of special about that relationship once it becomes like that unit, not just, I think that's not only like you, but other people obviously take it more seriously, and not that I care about other people taking me more seriously. Like myself and like the feeling of being married is like really cool, and this person that I want to spend my life with. And because relationships are hard and I have no intention of ever getting divorced, so I realized like marriage is gonna like, it's gonna have ups and downs, like really good years and potentially really bad years. Like I've heard that from people, right? And just knowing that like me and this person are in it together, like he makes me laugh like no other person, and just that we get to like start this life together as our family. When we have these other families, yes, that now are extended family, like to like really have, this is our family, whether we have kids or not, like he is the most important person in my life at that moment. And I think I have like a few really important men in my life. And so it's almost like even like, not that I have to pick, but like at that moment it becomes the most important person in my life, and I think that I'm really excited for that, as well as I know I'm prepared to work at it. I'm probably not easy to live with, but he's like the best person to live with ever. And yeah, marriage is fun because also our money is going to go together when we're married, which it's not together now. So financials, I think it'll be more fun to like do that stuff together. Like we're already on the same page financially, but to like really have everything like, these are our assets, these are our goals together, what we're like making more, vision and goal decisions together, I think will be really cool.
Yeah. Whenever you said money and that will be fun, you cracked me up because that's totally you. It totally sounds like, oh, putting our money together is going to be a blast.
It's going to be so fun. Yeah.
I'm sure it will be, definitely. And for me, we haven't put our money together yet because he still has a car payment and some student loans. So once we get those paid off, then we're going to put our money together. But it's been interesting because especially going in business for myself, keeping our money separate, because he's in charge of more of the automated things, and I've been in charge more of like, well, since I buy the grocery, like I go grocery shopping, I'll, contribute.
Me too.
Right?
And I'm like way better at that. So
yeah, no, I've learned that even as much as I used to hate grocery shopping, I am much more efficient at it. He will go down random aisles and come out with like bags of Lucky Charm, like off-brand Lucky Charms and stuff, which we do have. But I try to keep it a little more veggies and fruits and like important things.
That's like such a man thing. I think it's like a man thing because he'll go to the store and like, what? Like, we never buy this. I'm like, why would you buy this? Right? Or like, what? I'm like, why did you need those chicken wings? That's what he's eating tonight. That's why I thought of it. Like, and I usually go to this together, but when he's gone out of town, so I went by myself this Saturday night just because I wanted to get it done with before the Sunday crowd.
Yes.
I'm like a 90-year-old woman, by the way. If no one knew. I'm like, I don't want to hit Sunday grocery crowd. I'm going to go on Saturday night instead.
Yeah.
I can get I can get our grocery shopping done in like 40 there. It's like 45 cents. We know, like, I know what we buy the same thing every week.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. So I would actually like to flip the script on you and ask what marriage advice you would have for me.
I've gotten all kinds of marriage advice and I love every piece, but the one I have two that stuck out to me. One was actually, my boss at my corporate job. She couldn't make it. She lives in LA and I'm in Kansas City. And she called me the week of my wedding, because I worked up until the day of, and then I worked the Monday, I was working. And she called me and she said, after the ceremony, find a closet or somewhere else, a quiet place where you can just go be with your husband for 5 minutes. Because that's the only alone time that you're going to have the whole time. And you just go and you're in this space. She said, we were in a closet, obviously no windows. And it was just like, sigh of relief, we're married now. And then you get to enjoy that together, that moment where it's like, oh, this really happened. And so that was nice advice. I don't think we got away, but it was something where I like stopped him and I said, okay, look at me. We're married now. And so that was,
I just got chill.
Yeah. It's like, it's awesome. And we had that moment like a week later. We were like, oh my God, we're actually married. Yeah. And then the other piece of advice I got during the reception actually was from one of our very good friends' parents. And he said, no matter what happens in life, you're going to have good years, you're going to have bad years, you're going to fight. It's going to happen. But he said, Erin, you always work to make Tim happy, and Tim always worked to make Erin happy. Whether that's compromising or anything, just keep that in the back of your mind no matter what. So if you're fighting, remember that is your main goal. And it's awesome. Like, it's like my favorite piece of advice. It really stuck out because I'm all about like positive mindset anyway. But when you're in the heightened emotional state, it doesn't always come up. But that is something that every time we're fighting, I always keep in the back of my head. And I'm like, we're going to get to the end of this fight, and why prolong it? And like, things like that. So that's a big one that
thank you. I'm going to take that moment too. I love that. Like, yes. After the wedding.
Yes. It was great advice because half the night I didn't even see him. He was dancing with his friends. I'm like standing there, like videotaping the whole thing.
Nice. Yeah. Those are good tips. I'm going to take them. Thank you.
Of course. I'm just going to jump into some questions that we have. These are from group members of Society of Self-Mastery, which is the group that I'm in with you, that anyone can be in with you. Yeah. Okay. The very first question is, yes. Tell us about your workout and wellness routines. And we know that I know from seeing you in person, you are buff. And so I am curious about all this as well, because, I work out, but I don't work out.
Well, I think it's important for everyone to do something they enjoy, right? Because then you'll do it more. I do, but it's not advice for everyone, right? If you hate what I say, then probably don't do it. I am a CrossFitter now. I was CrossFit till to St. Pete, actually. And when I got here, we joined a CrossFit gym. So I go to CrossFit at least probably 5 to 6 days a week in the morning. And then I also train. I'm not training right now, but in the past have trained for like distance triathlons. And if I started doing that, I would probably cut my CrossFit back to like 3 days a week if I started hardcore training. So right now it's a lot of CrossFit and running. And I do every single morning. I sometimes take one weekday off. I usually still go on the weekends because it's just fun. And that's like it's fun, right? Like it's been more fun at CrossFit for me because I have like a community there. So like people know my name and we're like friends. And if I don't go for like 2 days in a row, like this happened last week, I went for a run one day and I didn't go to CrossFit at all. And on Saturday when I showed up, our coach was like, "Where you been?" And I was like, "What? I've been gone for 2 days." I was like, "And I ran yesterday." He's like, "No." So like having that accountability, having people like notice helps me continue getting excited to go. So I do that every morning. And then I would say my wellness, I don't know. I eat really healthy, that's for sure. But I also really love cookies and things like this cuts. Yeah. So I try to be like generally healthy. And then then every once in a while you can eat what you want. But I really do like healthy foods. Like my general wellness is also about my sanity, which means working out and going on walks, being outdoors. Like I love being outdoors. Like yesterday I was like, I need sun on my body. So like then it's long, going outside and I have like a morning routine that I do that definitely contributes to my overall wellness of my mind.
Right. Yeah. I love working out, but my thing is I need variety. I also have always wanted to try CrossFit, but I feel like I need to work on my joints first because I've had some knee issues in the past, and I know that it can be difficult on your joints, and everybody's different and everybody's body's going to tolerate something different. But I love that every time I talk to someone who's in CrossFit, they're like, they talk about that community because I would love to find a community. It's just difficult when it's like, I have a gym that I go to, but I like to go in the morning or during the day when everyone else is at work here locally,
Right.
So I'm trying to find accountability, but not necessarily accountability, more like a sisterhood. Cause like my husband loves to work out. Right. My husband loves to work out, but we go to different gyms right now. It's just not work. And he likes to go like late at night. Like I said, I like to go in the morning. So
oh my God, I can't.
I'm like dead by the end of the day, even if I didn't do anything. Well, okay, I'm working, but like even if I didn't do much physical
activity,
yes, then I'm still like I'm not going to make it. So I make sure to have many a dance party during the day, among other things.
I'm like dead by the end of the day too.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think in CrossFit, like a lot of people do. Not that I'm going to try to sell you on CrossFit. I actually think that it's not bad on your joints. And I think that people get better attention like in a CrossFit class because like they come around and they're like you're doing that wrong. Here's what I would instead, don't move your body like this. So they know like the body mechanics, which makes me, I think, trust them more than just me working out on my own for sure. Because I know a lot, but not like them. And so like little tweaks, like lifting, weight and that's the other thing is like the variety that you mentioned. I think that's why I love CrossFit for two reasons, the variety and the competitiveness for sure. Like I'm a competitive athlete and entire life to this day, like still doing triathlon, and I get to race against the clock typically like every single day. I'm like trying to beat my own times, love it more. Like I'm more excited to do it and like get better versus like if I go work out by myself, like I can like create a workout, but I won't push myself as hard as when gym. Coach it, like my coach, like they push me harder than anyone. And that's like what I do for my clients in business too. It's like, you could have the routine, you could have it, but you're not going to push yourself as hard as someone else knows to do. Yeah. Right. Like you won't know it. So it's pretty cool to have that community in class.
Yes. Well, and I also like kickboxing. But my problem is it's like a 30-minute kickboxing class. I have a membership. I don't go as much as I should. Sometimes I'll hurt myself and then I just like my momentum just completely goes down the drain. And so, but I like those more when I go with someone that I know because it's not as much you can talk to someone. It's like a 30 minutes, you're in, you're out. No one talks to each other except for the trainer who's yelling at you. And if you haven't done it for 2 weeks, it's like, let me build my strength back up kind of thing. But like, I don't know. I need to get back into kickboxing. It's just, it doesn't appeal to me. The doesn't appeal to me. It's just like, it tests my limits. Though I did learn through it that I do push-ups wrong. Like I've been like lopsided this whole time. Didn't know it.
Oh, wow.
So like I built up strength in a weird part of my back and it's totally not my shoulder. And so I like have to look in a mirror every time I do push-ups now. So that was new. You learn something every day. I'm like,
at least there was a mirror so you could like correct it.
Yes. Yeah. So there's that, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like, it's just the partnership thing that I miss here. And I will try CrossFit at one point, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see when that is. I love it.
keep us posted.
Okay, I will. Well, and how long have you been in competitive sports or into competitive sports? Like, how old were you when you started?
I was a kid when I started. Like, I was always like tomboy sports kid, and I used to play with the boys. I was hardcore. I don't know. I never played softball. I always played baseball, like on the boys teams. And then I started swimming when I was I started swimming really early, and that took a couple, like probably took like 3rd to 5th grade off, and then started swimming really competitively again in like 6th grade, and swam until end of school. And then like my freshman year, well, I guess it was like my 8th grade year, I started playing water polo. And so I started playing competitive water polo for like a club team. And I was swimming for a club team and doing like lots of swimming. And I loved water polo. So I started swimming just so that I could get better at water polo, really. Like it became, like that became the sport that I loved. And I really would just swim so that I would be a faster water polo. Water polo really competitively throughout high school. Went to like state championships, was like all-American. And you've seen me, I'm pretty short and
You're really much smaller than I anticipated. Like, I don't know why. I think it's because you're such a powerhouse. I just feel like you're like 5'9".
No, I'm like 5'4". That's pretty small for being good. I would say that I was pretty good. And then I started playing at University of Florida. So I played there. And then after that, it started training competitively for triathlon. So I left University of Florida, graduated obviously, and water polo is not a sport that you can like easily find and do as adult. There's not really like a lot of adult teams. There's not even a lot of young, like even for high schools or anything team.
Yeah, we don't have that.
So
I totally get that.
Yeah, I was in North Carolina at the time, and so I started doing triathlon because one of my bosses at the time, he was a triathlete, and he was like, I think you'd be really good at this. And I was like, okay. And so I went and biked for like $200 because I was like, I'm not going to invest a ton of money if I don't really even know if I like this thing. But let me like try it out. And so I started training for my first triathlon and I won, and I was like, oh, I'm really good at this. So I kept doing that. And then when I went back to grad school, I trained with them and then kept kind of like doing bigger and bigger and longer races. And so I just loved it. I love competing, and I love trying to be the best at everything I do.
Good, because
for another day.
Because I'm like less competitive. I need a little bit of you, a daily dose of Adrienne, because no, I've always been as much as my dad wanted me to be competitive, I've always been I'll help you. Oh, you're not doing that well. That's okay. I'll help you through it. And that is both a strength and a weakness for me, because then it's like I completely lose sight of what I'm doing. But that's for another day. But that's totally one of the reasons why I connected with you in the first place. So there's that. And
I think that's like part of why I love triathlon, is because I'm not really competing with other people. I'm competing with myself, and like the most important business as well. Right. And I think that's probably why I love like comparing my business to like competitive sports and all of that, because I think you can develop a lot of the mindset and the mind training and mental toughness that you need business by being a competitive athlete and a disciplined athlete. But yeah, I think competing with yourself is the most important piece, because in triathlon, everyone else, which is really interesting in a sport, right? Because you would think you would want to win, but really you just want to beat your own time. Like, you know what you're capable of, and if you can beat your own time, that's great. It doesn't matter what Joe Schmo is doing, differently, and do I want to beat his time? Potentially, but more than anything, I want to beat mine. So that's like the coolest part of that sport, I think.
Well, and that's an awesome mentality, because like I said, everyone is different, and that's not necessarily a mentality that a lot of people gravitate towards naturally. So I love it. I love it. Okay, let's see what else people have. Okay, how do you define self-mastery?
Doing your best to become become the best version of yourself. So doing your best to become the best version of yourself and your relationships. So making sure that you're doing your best to become the best version of yourself there. Your health, like your physical body, finances. So making sure that you are keeping tabs on that. Your spiritual well-being. So whether that's like your relationship with self or a higher power, it doesn't really matter. Just like tap into throughout you have that we are all born with, and your purpose. And that could be a business, or that could be a career. It could be something that you do as a hobby, but you know that like that is put to earth to do. And I think you might have multiple purposes throughout your life. But I think self-mastery to me is keeping tabs on all of those and being conscious of them, best version of yourself in all of those areas. And that really like completes the circle of like who you are. And that's like a hard thing. That's like a hard thing, right? Because like every single day you get the choice. You get to decide like, what do I need to do to be the best version of myself today? And I always like ask my clients, like, what else, like what happened today that did not to make a version of yourself, right? Or what did happen today that made you the best version of yourself? Or what are you doing tomorrow? Or what would you need? Like, what do you need to add into your life in terms of paying attention to your relationships, or your finances, or what needs to happen for you to really be proud, to really say like, I am working on being the best version of myself. And I don't think most people in the world can say that. I think that makes you the best version of yourself. Like if you're constantly working towards that and being self-aware enough to say like, oh, when I don't time for my relationship myself, or when I don't go to the gym, I'm not the best version of myself. So that's something I'm going to add into my life and make a priority, because I know that I'm the best version of myself when that happens. So that's my non-succinct definition of self-mastery.
No, I mean, it's very important. It doesn't have to be succinct, especially because your idea of, not your idea, but the definition that you gave goes along with the fact that you don't necessarily believe in the work-life balance. But there's another question on here that goes along with that in the circle of things to prioritize yourself and everything, is what was the most difficult boundary you have ever had to set, and how did you do it? And I know boundaries, I feel like you're a little better at setting those than I am personally and in business.
Probably not. We teach what we need to learn, right? And so actually like this past week and last week on the podcast aired, I was talking about boundaries because I'm teaching that because it's something that keeps coming up for me that I need to learn. So I'm not very good at boundaries because I just want to make people happy. If I don't serve myself first, I can't serve everyone else. And so I guess like the most difficult boundary is, I mean, it comes up again and again, so I don't know if that it's like one boundary, but it's definitely in my business and really having to say no to people. Say like, I can't do that for you in that time frame, or like I can't meet with you on that day or during that time, or like in some of my programs, like the levels of different access to me, can't treat my group course as a one-on-one program. Would I love to serve everyone as much as they want and need that support? Yeah, I would, but I also need out day. And so it's been, important for me to set those boundaries for myself. And what I do now is called like my quota and expectations. And I think being clear on your expectations and boundaries is the most important part, because when people expect something of you that you never intended to give is where the miscommunication and like disappointment comes in. So I have boundaries up front now, whereas I didn't do that before. And so I guess the most important boundary or most challenging one is with myself, like, because I want to say yes, but I have to tell myself to say no. In the past, or when people like pitch me to be on their summits or to do whatever, like as your business grows and as your audience grows, you might want yes, but you sometimes can't. And setting that boundary with myself and knowing that it doesn't mean I don't like these people, or that I don't support these people, or that I'm not of service to these people, but I can't be all the things in all the ways to everyone. Otherwise I self out and then I'm of no use to anyone, and that's been really hard. And I think it's actually almost harder. And this is an interesting discussion because it wasn't so long ago when not have an audience, right? And so I could be more accessible and I would look at other people who did have an audience and I would be like, oh my gosh, they're so unapproachable or accessible. I would never do that, right? Mm-hmm. And now that I've quickly grown an audience, I see now how impossible that is, and the personal responsibility that comes with having a lot of eyeballs on you, as well as just physical limitations of your day and life, and what people expect of you and what you can give for certain price points. And speaking specifically to business, it's a lot to take stand oh, that's why that isn't you don't have such direct access. So I always tell people with smaller audiences, and I still have a relatively small audience, and so leverage Nimble right now, leverage that, right? Make those really strong connections with your audience and serve them as deeply as you can and be accessible, because it's not going to be like that forever if you have a really big mission that you want to share. As your audience grows, you have to set even harder boundaries for yourself, because otherwise you won't have a business. So from that switch last year, it's been hard to set boundaries for myself, really. What am I capable of, and what actually impedes the other areas of my life that make me not the best version of myself anymore, right? And so it's easy to focus all of attention on the business, and maybe the people that I'm serving in my business are happy, but I've destroyed my relationship, I've destroyed my health, I've destroyed my relationship with self or spirituality, destroyed my finances because I'm not paying attention to self-mastery and setting that boundary, because you can't expect to not have those boundaries and be the best version of yourself.
Right. Well, that's so true. So true. But even for those who aren't in business for themselves, and I see it a lot. I saw it with me.
Oh yeah.
When I was in my corporate job, just totally didn't take care of myself. And I know that you talked about that recently in a Facebook Live that you are selfish.
Yeah, I did.
I don't know. I feel like it's good when people realize that they're supposed to be selfish. Because you can't.
Yeah, you can only control your happiness, right? And we spend so much time and energy to make other people happy. And just trying to make other people happy. But if you focus on the one person that you can make happy, yourself, then other people will see that, embody that, and also be happy because of that.
Yeah, I used to be backwards from that. I would get happiness from making other people happy, from obviously you can't make other people happy, but from working my part in trying to make them happy. And that's where I would get mine. And it's that's not how that works. You do have to lead by example. And that's one of my biggest things right now in business and in life, actually, in all of the things, is that I want to lead by example for my family, for my loved ones, and for everyone who sees me. Because you really can only take care of yourself. Ultimately, you could try to take care of other people, but they have their own decisions and their own emotions. You can't make anyone feel something. You can't make anyone do something. There's no control.
Yeah.
We have a lot of questions. We're probably not going to be able to get through all of them today. I may just have to call back. So we'll see how that goes. If you want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully you take all the questions.
Yeah. When was the last time you laughed your face off, and why?
Probably 5 minutes ago. Not 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes before we got on this. I was in the kitchen and Tyler asked me if I would rub his back tonight. And I was like, why? I said, why don't you rub my back? I was like, what is that about? And so he actually just put in his notice at his job. I'm going to be full-time entrepreneur. So now I'm supporting an unemployed husband. And you want me to rub your back? I was like, what is this?
You're you make $1 million and then I'll rub your back.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He was on. That's pretty much how our life runs, is through laughter, constantly. Or earlier when I was working and church spots that I on, like a rug or whatever, near our desks. And so church lays near mine and Ari lays near Tyler. And church was definitely like farting. And so those are the moments that like I'm cracking up at myself. And Tyler's like, what is going on over there? I'm like, church is like so stinky right now.
You have to be able to laugh at
like have to enjoy life, right?
I love it. I love it. That's probably one area where I will never grow up. Like
me either.
I'm fine with that.
I mean, if people like don't laugh at that, like what?
No, I know. That's so silly. I don't know. When I was younger, I used to try not to laugh at things like that, but I hung out with guys all the time. Like all my best friends were boys. And so I was like, why am I trying to fight this?
Like it's like gross, but it's still funny.
Yeah. It's not like I'm like, oh, I need to hear or smell that.
Love that.
You know? But it does happen. So.
No. Oh my God. Is this the first time you talked about farm in an area?
Yes.
Good.
It's the first. I don't know.
For me too.
I wonder if it's the last. It depends on who my lineup is. We'll just find a way to work it into every conversation now.
Yeah. Now it's a goal. Yeah.
Okay. When was the last time you were terrified and why?
Terrified is like a really strong word.
It is.
So I don't know the last time I was really terrified. I think that I'm through fear very quickly, easily, because I know that fear is just an emotion that I'm allowed to feel. But whatever it is that I'm working towards through, the result then is typically on the other side of that. So like, I always ask myself, like, what's the best that could happen? What's the worst that could happen? Am I going to die? And is this thing that I'm trying to do that I'm fearful of moving towards the result I want? And if it is, and I'm not going to die, then it kind of like puts everything into perspective for me. So I'm like, I'm never really terrified. I would say the one time that I was really terrified was when I was defending my thesis in grad school. I was pretty terrified. I thought I was going to throw up, because it was a lot of work. I had a really horrible grad school experience. I needed it to be over. And the fact that they kind of controlled my destiny in that thesis defense meeting was really stressful. I was like, oh my God. But then I was like, I'm gonna die. So just get in there, do your best and forget the rest, as Tony Horton says. And so that was probably the last time that I was terrified. I definitely had like fear, like something like, your body gets type of emotions. When I was leaving my corporate job and my VP at the time called me to ask me about my side business and was I planning to leave my job. And so like that call was very scary, like close my office door and get back on the phone with him and have that. It was like an hour and a half long discussion. I ended up crying, which I never wanted to do. Being taken off guard that he was calling me about that at that moment. And so like, when that like fear, when you can like literally like feel your body being hot, like you're sweating. That was that. And that was about a year ago or so. But I move through fear all the time in my business. Like nothing is ever certain. Like I was talking to Tyler about this the other day. I was like, as an entrepreneur, human in life, right? Like as a human, getting comfortable, and Tony Robbins has a much better quotable on this, but like, there is uncertainty in everything. So you have to get comfortable with uncertainty if you want really to like feel true fulfillment, success, happiness, etc. Because you're never gonna like fully know. There's uncertainty in everything. And so not recently terrified. It's an interesting word choice.
Yeah, but but it helped because you brought more perspective to it, Yeah.
Yeah. Even like my dad had cancer, right? And that was a scary thing, human, right? So it was like terrifying. And I think, was I sad, worried, scared, fearful? Yes. But again, so wouldn't say that I was terrified, so to speak.
Right. Right. Well, and I get scared of the waiting period. Like I will do something. Like just as an example, I was cheerleader in high school. We'd go to state competition. We'd compete at 5:30 in the morning and then have to wait for 3 hours and just wait and wait and wait. Yeah. And it's like the worst feeling ever. And that's probably like the lightest thing I could think of to be like nervous about in waiting.
Oh yeah. I totally know what you mean. Like you could even be like weeks or like, it's like the most annoying waiting period ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like all you think about. Yeah.
Well, and to go along with that, you're talking about your thesis and you were into wildlife conservation. Is that something that did you always want to be a wildlife conservationist when you were little? Like, is that what you wanted to be?
No, because I didn't know that it existed when I was younger. Like I was the outdoorsy kid and my brother was the kid who was like on the computers and like he would like build computers and he would go to that he is a website developer and he does websites for really large companies. And I was wildlife girl. Like I would be like running around, picking up frogs, putting lizards on my ears. I don't know if you've ever done that, but like you can attach lizards. I was like, with my dogs and all the things outside. So I'm always like really interested in learning about that stuff. So I thought I was going to be a vet, probably thought I was going to be a veterinarian. And I actually didn't really want to work with like domesticated animals as a vet. I loved dogs, but I didn't really have any interest in like putting dogs to sleep. Right. So that like kind of ruined it for me. I was like, I don't know that I want to like do surgery on dogs and put them to sleep.
Yeah.
I was like, I pet them. And so then I actually was in school for business first. Like that was my main degree. Then I was in zoology because that was like the pre-med, like degree. And I switched once I found out that there was like a conservation ecology, like wildlife ecology degree. I was like, oh, like that's actually what I want to be. Yeah. So I didn't know that it existed. And when I was really young, I wanted to be a sea captain. I wanted to, if anyone has ever been out deep sea fishing, there's these, basically they're like tow trucks for boats. And I wanted to drive one of those because I just loved being out on the water. Like my dad owns deep sea fish. We still do when he comes. That's like a thing that we do together. I loved fishing. I was really good at it, even at a young age. It was just fun to like be with dad. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to drive the sea tow. Just like, oh, lame. It's like a tow truck, literally, on the water.
That's awesome. And it's so like individual to you because I've never heard that from anyone else before. I love it.
It's not like the most glamorous career, I bet, but I even had like my dad, I didn't live with my mom at this age. My dad fully supported it, and he would get like sea tow bumper stickers, and he got me this like bright yellow sea tow t-shirt. So he was like on board with me being a sea tow captain.
I love that. That's wonderful. Well, and then that goes into another question we have here about how your parents influenced your direction that you have gone and then the direction that you're going to continue to go, if there was any influence there, and if so, I don't know, when you saw it, kind of thing.
I had like negative relationship with my biological mom. So I lived with her until I was in about 7th grade. And then my dad custody me. So not someone who's present in my life. She's still alive. I know she's still alive, but she's not present in my life. So that relationship has affected me in so many ways that we could have a whole therapy session on it. But my dad was an entrepreneur. He is an entrepreneur. And so actually like he was a consultant, and he worked as like someone who does like leadership development in large organizations. And he would come in and do consulting for like big companies who were doing layoffs. And he would consult with the people who just got laid off and help them like figure out what they wanted to do next, which is actually a lot of like what I help people do is like really create the life that they want. And he always did that for people. And he was, an executive coach type of role. So he was an entrepreneur, but to me, I didn't know that as a child. Like, no, even in high school, I don't think I really knew what that was or what that meant in the whole like capacity of the word, because he never like called himself an entrepreneur. He just ran a business. Probably I wish that I had maybe asked more questions back then. But I didn't, because I was a teenager and like focused on my own stuff, but I knew that like money was actually very inconsistent in our household, like a lot of money. And then there would be months where like no money was coming in, because of the way that he got paid off of, consulting clients. And actually a really thing that like once I started to become an entrepreneur, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. That was one of my money things that came up, is money inconsistent as an entrepreneur or not? He has a very consistent personality, and that is something that I definitely have learned from him, and I love about him and I love about myself, because with my biological mom, like you kind of never knew what you were going to get. And I feel very grounded in the same way in my personality and in my emotions. Like I'm not like a high-low type of person. Like I'm not an emotional roller coaster. If you come to me today, I'm going to be like this. And if you come to me tomorrow, I'm going to be like this. Right. So, Tyler knows that about me. I think that helps. I'm not like, I'm very consistent. And so I'm very consistent in my emotion and my personality as well as do business. And so I think that helps for sure as an entrepreneur. And so I did not know that stuff though. It didn't like affect me constantly during the decisions. When I look back, it's like very obvious to me how he's influenced me, but it's more of like a reflective thing. It definitely was not like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur because my dad is. That wasn't how it was. Like looking like, oh, that makes total sense. My brother's also an entrepreneur. So we were apparently bred a certain way that I needed to go through corporate because my dad in corporate. So he has that experience as well. And so does my brother. But then always ended up as an entrepreneur. So,
right. Well, and that's not even, it's not an option that's really presented, at least as far as my experience has been, to be an entrepreneur. My experience when I was younger was that my mom, she sold Avon when we were younger. And I remember that. I remember going on runs with her when she would deliver things. And then she switched over to Mary Kay, and she's been doing it ever since. But that was just like the solution for stay-at-home moms, kind of thing. But it's lucrative as well, and she gets to be at home kind of thing. And so I think that was my first real peek into it. And it totally didn't occur to me until way after the fact. Like I've been doing a lot of thinking and reflecting recently on what past events may have led me to where I am, because I'm like, why the heck did I choose this? In a good way. It's not like a regrettable.
Right.
It helps me to unpack things so I can help other people. So yeah, that's I don't think I remembered that your dad's an entrepreneur. That's really cool.
Now he's actually, he'll kill me if I tell everyone how old he is, because he doesn't look it, but he's almost 75. So my dad is older. He had us when he was older. Yeah.
He does not look it.
I'll make sure he hears this part of
good genes. We'll tell him the timestamp.
Yeah. Listen to this point. Right now he is a recruiter, or what other people would call a headhunter, which he does. Apparently that's a dirty word in their industry. He goes to the VPs and the people in big positions and gets them to go from one company to another. So other companies hire him to recruit people to top executive positions. So he's a headhunter. And he loves that. He's the most personable person ever. And he's a salesman for sure at heart. But that's because he's a people person, can really talk to anyone, understand and empathize with where they are, where they want to be. And that's really the core of sales, right? And so I've actually thought a lot about my process for sales, how he's influenced that. I'll really feel much more confident, comfortable with sales now than I did in the beginning of my business. And it's because I can tap into oh, this doesn't have to feel gross. Like, this is just empathizing with a person and understanding where they are and help them, fill the void or solve that problem, etc. And he's like so good at that. And I'm like, I'm just going to watch you more often.
Well, and I think that's huge. That's a huge point, because so many times people look, at least in the online business world, they're looking at sales and they're like, oh, it's too pushy. And even I was like, I am not a salesperson. I'm not. I still maintain that. But I'm not a salesperson in the fact of door-to-door sales, going in and saying, you need this, regardless of if they need it or not. It's like those scissors that they would come around and try to sell. I don't know if they ever came to your front door, but they cut a penny in half.
Scissors?
Yes. And I was like 10 and I was like, Mom, we need these scissors. And I almost got her to buy them. But we didn't need the scissors. It's just you need to be able to approach someone, see what their problems are. And if they're not problems that you can necessarily fix or that you can help them focus on right now, if it's not one of their focuses right now, it's okay. Let them know you're still there if that problem arises for them, but don't push it. And that's what has always turned me off to sales, is when someone continues to push without trying to really help you with a problem. It's more just like for their benefit.
Most like service driven humans, they're never going to do it that way. So if you want to stay in business, which as an entrepreneur, you need to sell, you have to have that set, but you don't need to like that pushy, gross, salesy skill set that you associate with selling. You need to have the other one. You need to have one of service, and you can sell by being of service and doing it in a way that feels really good for you. So I think it's important, like, for people to understand, you are a salesperson, but you don't have to be that type of salesperson that you associate with something gross, right? Something you want to associate it with someone that has like changed your life and they sold you something. Mm-hmm. Well, something that changed, bought it. So many things in my life that have changed my life, and I enjoy buying them, right? So if those people didn't sell them to me, I wouldn't be like that. So, I mean, it's part of our economy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Part of what we got to do.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of questions on here that I love. They're quick answers probably, unless they're not. So someone says, I have to know what mascara Adrienne wears. #lashes for days. What mascara is that, Adrienne?
I use the old Faithful, like the Maybelline. It's pink and it has a green top. That is the best. And it has the get the curl wand. Don't even bother with all the other ones. It's the best there is. And then that's all I use is the curled wand with the black mascara.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Thank you.
You have lashes for days. I do love them. And then another question was,
thank you.
How do you keep your locks looking so shiny and healthy?
I wash my hair.
All right.
I know. I don't really use a lot of hair product, so I'm of no use. I try to air dry as much as possible as well. I try not to use the blow dryer if I don't have to.
Yes, that is huge. So another question is, how did you become friends with your biz besties?
So I have a few biz besties. Like, one of them, her name is Maria Hinton, and her and I, we meet every Friday morning at 5 a.m. and we have a chat, and it's like 3 hours long, and Tyler up like, damn, must have been a good chat. You're just getting done 3 hours later. And I'm like, yeah. Maria, I met her through some online Facebook groups, and she was interesting to me. I was always commenting on it. I thought she was great. And but we both talked a lot about money, and we had a lot of the same views, and I was just interested in getting to know her. And so we scheduled like a coffee chat type of thing. Basically had these like grand ideas from day one of like how we were going to do business and life together on that first call. And ever since then, we've been like accountability buddies, and she co-hosted my retreat with me, and she's coming on my next retreat as my guest expert. So she's like my rock solid, like my ride or die girl, and someone's work and like not putting anyone on a pedestal, right? Because we could have easily both said like, oh, she'll never be friends with me, right? We could have done that to each other. And the truth is we were both like just genuinely interested in connecting. And so we did. And one way, another way was like joining masterminds. So I joined a couple masterminds, and one is a peer-led mastermind. And I have a few like really good girlfriends through that. And then others like where I did a mentor, and then it included like a mastermind. And I think, you know, it's easy to like join a program and then only like connect with the mentor, or like really not get involved more intimately. So I always like really intentional. Like if I'm, you know, you're not going to be best friends with everyone, right? Even in a small group. But if someone's like really pulling your attention, or you really like them, or you're attracted to their energy, or you think what they're doing is really cool, reach out for every single time. Like there's at least one person that you want to get closer to. And so I've just been the person who reaches out and says, hey, I really love what you're doing. I'm attracted to not only work, but I think you're really cool, and I would love to hop on a chat with you and just connect and just, you know, see how I can support you in what you're doing. And usually from there, we end up having like a chat like you and I are having, right? It's kind of casual, and like, we're not necessarily talking all about business. We're, you know, life and dogs and fiancés and whatever. And so then we can like decide if we want to be friends. And usually we do. And the key is continuing those relationships. Like, so Maria already like really good friends. We commit to meeting each other once a week because we want to invest in each other. And sometimes we talk about business, and then other times we like sit and talk about, I don't even know what, for 3 hours, but just like life in general and stuff that's coming up for us, and talking about relationships, marriage, kids, and whatever, our next trip that we're planning or whatever. Mm-hmm. So continuing that relationship is key, and don't think that the other person is going to be responsible for that. Like, I think both of you should take ownership to connect with people that you are really interested in connecting with.
Right. Well, and I think that obviously with online entrepreneurship, you're by yourself a lot of the day. And so what I saw with me was, first I was lonely, and then I was like, I'm alienating myself. Like, I'm talking to people constantly on Facebook. I'm connecting with them through calls, and it was always other people's calls. Like I'd sign up for a 20-minute consultation or whatever. And it's like, why? Mm-hmm. Why am I alienating myself? And so I did. I think you were actually the first person that I reached out to. And since then I've been reaching out to people that I'm just like, I love their work, or I love how they talk. You need connections like that. And that's how we went to in-person retreat together, is because I started that. I was just like, oh my gosh, I love her.
Yeah.
And I
think that's so important. Yeah, I think that's so important. And I did a live stream on this yesterday. Like, I think that you can have a ton of surfacey level relationships in this online space and feel like you're got a lot of like friends, right? Like, no, but like, how many like deep, like connected relationship friends do you really have? Like, when something goes down, that's, you know, good, bad, or ugly, that you could like call that person, right? Like, you could be like, this is what's happening to me, I just need to share with you, or give me your feedback, or here's what's going on, be excited with me. Yes. You need people like that. And when I think there's like this false sense of that within, you know, groups or LinkedIn groups, or, you know, whatever it is that you spend your time in. There's a false sense of that. And I really want to encourage like people reach out more and like build those deeper connections, because it's huge. Like, you need that. You are in isolation, and you cannot flourish in isolation, for sure.
No. Even the introverts, even the self-proclaimed introverts, because I think that I go through ebbs and flows of everything in my life, including being an extrovert and being an introvert. I think it just happens. It's like a roller coaster for me. And so it's like, even if I'm going through an introverted phase, I still need that human connection, whether it's video chatting or a phone call, or even just like messaging each other or texting each other or something like that.
I'm very similar in that, like, I'm maybe an ambivert because I'm like introverted and extroverted. I call myself like a socially outgoing introvert. And a lot of people just think I'm an extrovert. It's totally not true. I really need alone time. I'll be exhausted after this, right? And or like after like a speaking gig, or after a party. Like, at a party, I'm like in it. I love a party. And then like after an hour, I'm like, I want to go home now. Like, I'm done with this. Yeah. as an introvert, it doesn't mean you don't like people. It just means they exhaust you. So just manage that a little bit better, but you still need to have those relationships.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if ChatConnect does one thing for people, I want it to like put the idea in their head that they should reach out to someone. And that is, I mean, like I said, you were the first person I reached out to. And so it's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. I'm going to thank you forever for this. But like so much has happened since you helped me grow my business, but I also love to talk to you about personal things as well. And it's just like, if I didn't have this scheduled into my day right now, I would still be kind of by myself or still be reaching out to people, just, texting them or just messaging them on Facebook. But it's really all about bringing that, not necessarily offline, but more into a personal space like video like this. And so I just adore it. And so I hope that people want to connect more. I hope this pushes them to, because there is not one bad thing that comes from connecting. Even if the connection just isn't there whenever you talk, at least it's like, I learned and I got on video and I talked to someone. Let's try someone new kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
Love it. The last question we're going to take is, what is the legacy that you want to leave?
Oh, I guess like my big overarching legacy I would love to leave for people is my like a new project that's going to be part of my business called Good Businesses Do Good. So if you go to Good Businesses Do Good, there's a landing page. We're just getting things up and rolling. But I really believe that like part of my mission here on this earth is to help people earn more money, right? Help these humans that have these businesses, help them earn more money, and how to do that more effectively so that they can give more back to the world. Because I think that we're at this, space in our economy where entrepreneurship is accessible to you and you can become an entrepreneur very easily. And I want people to do that. So that's part of my legacy is I encourage for the right people. I don't think everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur by any means. There are people that we still need you in jobs, right? And that you're more fit, like your personality type is more fit for a job. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nope. If prefer to be a side hustler. I know some love just having a side hustle, even though they don't, maybe they don't need it, but that's like what they prefer. So and you can grow limitless income with a side hustle as well. So I believe that we as entrepreneurs have this potential to earn limitless income. Like you can grow your business, you can make more money, but like, then what are you going to do with that money? Like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with having a fancy luxury lifestyle. It's not really like my main goal. And your desires are not wrong, right? So I don't want to like make people's desires wrong. If you desire that, that's beautiful. Like allow that. But what else are you going to do? Because when you have like desires that are only met materialistically, I think you will just continue to have those desires, like, and there will be still this like hole in your fulfillment, right? In your body. So I know that like giving back and flourish is the greatest gift of joy that I've ever given myself. And so my legacy is meant to be built on showing people how to earn more money in their business so that they can give more generously back to the things that light them up, right? So there's no specific thing that I think you need to give to, but there's a lot of different ways that you can give back to the world to make this a better place, to be the best version of yourself by allowing other people to become the best version of themselves. So
not even 20 months into your business and you've got this big legacy project. I love it. Let me know how I can support you in any way, or how any of us can support you in any way.
I need as many supporters as possible. This is not something that makes me money. This is something that puts money in the right direction, right, which is a really cool thing. So, yeah, thank you.
I love it. Okay, now we're coming to this is the very last of our interview. Thank you again, Adrienne, for being here. It's the Pivot questionnaire, and I mentioned this to you before we got started today, but I did not tell you what the questions were. So this was made by Bernard Pivot for a French series initially. And now they use it on Inside the Actors Studio, which is kind of one of my influences for this show. And so it's just rapid fire set of 10 questions. Just whatever comes to mind first. And if you want to explain it, great. If you don't, we'll go to the next one. Ready?
Okay. Yeah, I'm nervous.
Don't be. You're good. Okay. What is your favorite word?
Cookie.
What is your least favorite word?
Moist.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
My dog's fur.
What is your favorite curse word? Love it. What sound or noise do you love?
Music.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Nails on a chalkboard.
Good.
Or people's mouths when they chew. Like if I'm close enough to someone and I can hear like the crunching of something, it like makes me twitch. Like when someone, like I can hear like someone eating. I'm like, oh my God, I can't.
Yeah. So like one of your investments need to be like a long table so you can sit at one end and Tyler can sit at the other end. You never have to hear him chew ever again. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
And I actually have a training certification in this to be a safari guide.
Yeah, you were in Africa, weren't you?
But that is a career that I almost pursued after grad school and then didn't, but I would definitely do that.
That's awesome. What profession would you not like to do?
I would not like to be a garbage person.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
Or a plumber.
I get that too. Oh, plumber first. They are heaven sent, the people who choose to be plumbers. Not, oh gosh.
Not for me, but thank you all out there.
Yes, I will praise them to the end of the earth.
Thank you.
And the final question for you today, Adrienne, is if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Dang, girl. That's it.
I like it. Thank you again so much, Adrienne, for being here. You are wonderful. You continue to be a huge inspiration for me and huge in my business and life. And so, this is such an honor for you to be here with me today and to take the time out of your day to do this.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. And just to clarify, I wasn't saying that God was going to think I was good looking, more that wow, you did a lot of cool shit in your life. So that was, I just maybe they think I thought God thought I was good looking, but having super fun.
You are good looking, Adrienne.
I hope I'm old and still good looking at that time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you've got your dad's genes and you're golden, you'll look 40 when you're 95.
I was like him, so
yes,
beautiful. I love it.
All right, well, again, thank you, and I'll let you get back to your day, and I will talk to you later. Okay? Thank you so much to Adrienne Dorison for being on the season finale of ChatConnect. To learn more about Adrienne, visit her website at adriennedorison.com. And don't forget, she's starting a movement at goodbusinessesdogood.com. Join the waitlist today. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for tuning in for the first season of ChatConnect. Stay tuned for announcements regarding the second season in the winter.